So today I wanted to talk to you about how you can repurpose some of your content for social media, because one of the things that I am really, really passionate about inside our business is working smarter and not harder. And that's for the teachers we serve. We want to help our teachers work smarter and not harder. And also as business owners, we also want to do the same. And one of the things that we've found being TPT store owners, business owners, is that sometimes those jobs can build up. And I think as teachers, we are prone to adding more and more to our to-do list. But the wonderful thing about having a business is that we can enjoy that life and have that life by design. So today I'm going to talk about how we can really look at different bits and pieces that we've got, repurpose them to work smarter and not harder. I've told you all of this. My TPT store is Rainbow Sky Creations. We've had a membership that we have closed. We've got mini courses. Most of our sales, our marketing is through Instagram, and we've built up an Instagram over 160,000 followers now, which is kind of crazy. That did not happen overnight, so I don't want anyone to think, oh my gosh, have you been posting for a year and all of a sudden that you're there? No, we've been on TPT for almost 10 years and Instagram the same. So it has been a slow burn. Okay, so I'm just going to get stuck straight into different ways that we can take our content and use it for our social media. So the first way we can do it is turn any of our long form content into carousels. So if you have got a blog or a podcast, or even if you've written long captions before, you can turn that into a carousel. Does everyone know what a carousel is? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, just so I know where we're at. Yeah. Okay, so a carousel is are those Instagram posts where you flick through the slides. There's more than one photo or more than one slide, and you're flicking through and there's multiple there. You can have up to 20 in one post now. I would not recommend that. You want your audience to flick through and be engaged, but as soon as they stop being engaged, it's going to work to your disadvantage. So think about the engagement. Don't add in any fluff. That is the most important thing when we're creating carousels. So does anyone have a blog? Yes, great. That's awesome. We still post on our blog every week too. I love my blog. I never wanted to start a blog. When we finally started it, it became my fourth baby. I've got 3 kids and it became my fourth baby. I love it so much. So we use that as our base content for everything. So I write blog posts, we post them each week. And then as you're going to see as we go through, we use that in lots of different ways. We've since added a podcast to our long form content. So now our blog posts are repurposed into forms of podcasts. So we actually just have our blog post up when we're doing our podcast, the topic of whatever the blog is, and we use that as a guide as we're talking. So our blogs have given us a lot of mileage over the time. So the first thing you can do is turn those blog posts into carousel posts. I like to batch them so I have a handful ready to go, and then make sure that you always have some sort of call to action at the end. So here is the product to help you do this, or make sure you follow for more good ideas like this. So something to tell your followers what you want them to do next. That's really important when we're posting on social media. Okay, so here are some examples. As you can see here on the examples, I've got the first slide, which is like my hook, whatever the blog post or the carousel is about. So new teachers, we want you to know this. And then they flick through, and these are the slides that they see. You can see here, these are actually in square form, and Instagram have now turned into a long rectangle. So I would really recommend that you start using that long rectangle if you can. Is anyone lost at this point with the sizing of Instagram, or wanting to talk about these carousels? Here's another example. I wrote a blog post about division fluency, and then I turned it into a carousel. Okay. The next one is to take these carousels and actually turn them into Instagram stories. Now, I sometimes do this when I don't have anything to post on my Instagram story, and I just keep a bank of them on my phone. And I think, okay, what am I talking about this week? We've been talking a lot about multiplication. I'll pop up some multiplication stories. So again, in your Canva, you can reformat your exact carousels, change the size to Instagram story, and then you can make some stories that are 4 or 5 slides long. So this one I would put first. It was the same as the colored one that I had before. And then I like to put in like a little GIF that's an arrow or something. So it encourages people to click over to the next one. Then we've got the 3 different ideas that I had. And then the final one is a call to action, which is getting people to go to the post that I have extracted this from. This one's another example down the bottom here, 6 strategies to help minimize teacher pressure. I took the 6 strategies and just made them nice and short, put them in like that. And then of course, the last slide is a call to action. So if you're going to take these Instagram carousels and use them on your stories, I suggest you have something to introduce it. Don't make it go too long. I always try and stick to just 3. I think that's enough before people get tired. And then the final slide, have something to make your audience take action of what they're going to do. Even if it's just reply to you with their favorite idea, or click this, or you could have one of those sliders, you know, where there has love heart eyes and they can slide it, whether they liked it or not. Have something that makes them take action. I always link over to our blogs. I think the more people that then click over to the blog, you're getting more traffic to your website, and hopefully people get stuck there and, you know, rummage through and find some of your really good stuff. So we've got blogs to carousels, then we turn those carousels into stories. Okay, the next thing that I like to do is take my captions, because I think we went through a stage of writing really long captions, and I don't know whether people are still writing really long captions in this group, but they have really helped me use that as a little, a real diving block, I suppose, to then go and write long form content. So if I've got an Instagram post that I felt really did well, maybe it's about different ways to teach multiplication strategies, for example, and people really liked it, or engaged with it, or it got more likes than normal, and I've put some of those ideas there in the caption, I've then taken that and padded it out and made it into a blog post. Now, when I wrote this first presentation, when I was putting all of this together a couple of years ago, ChatGPT really wasn't where it is now. But now you could copy one of your Instagram captions, put it into AI and say, could you please turn this into a blog post? You'd have to adjust it a little bit, but it's got the key ideas and your key thoughts in there to begin with. So I really like taking those captions and thickening them out into making them into a blog or something else. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have a blog, you may have the beginnings of a blog in some of your captions or in some of your TPT descriptions. Have a think about anything you do or anything you write in your business. That is a really good starting point for other content that you can reuse and repurpose. Okay, so here are some examples of captions that I've taken and then turned into blog posts. And then, as I said, we've then taken them and turned them into podcasts. So as you can see here, this had just like a little list of 5 things. Well, for the blog post, I took that list of 5 things. They were my subheadings, and then I thickened them out with paragraphs underneath. Same here with this growth mindset caption that I wrote. It got a lot of interest about why we had designed a particular resource. So I took that and I turned that into a blog post. And then here again, this one on the end, can you guys see that, or is everyone's photos in the way? Oh, you can see it. Great. Okay. Again, it lists different ways you can use a particular resource. It's a freebie that we have, a lead magnet to try and get email addresses. So I took that and I thickened it out and I made it into a blog post. All right. The next strategy or technique I'm going to talk to you about is B-roll. And this one people can find really divisive. You either think, I can't do that, I don't want to show my face, or you think, oh, this is cool, I'm going to give it a try. I would recommend no one feel like you can't do it, you don't want to show your face. Just give it a go. The reason why is because the way I like to teach B-roll is to have your phone on time lapse. So if you open up your camera and where down the bottom it's got photo and then you've got video, you scroll all the way to the end and then there's a time lapse option. If you set that up, and I've just got like a little vase here in front of me and my phone's here, I'm going to set that up and I'm going to film what we're doing right now. And I'm going to be able to use that as content. So I've just got it here. I'm just going to set it up. And as I'm talking to you, it's going to film me. Now, time lapse is where it films a long time and it goes really, really quickly. So you're not going to see all of those tiny little facial expressions, all of those funny things that you might do. For me, it takes away that edge of people like seeing your face and really worrying about what you look like. So I've got that there now. You can have that set up while you're working. You could have that set up while you are creating your resources. I don't know. I do a lot of like cutting out, coloring in, getting ready for photos. I always have my camera set up on time lapse when I'm doing those things. Why? Because I'm doing them anyway, and then I can turn that into content. So the one that I'm filming right now, I can turn into content for my Social by Ashleigh Smith page. I might put something over there about different ways that you can repurpose your content for your socials, because that's what we're talking about. And it'll just look like me talking to a computer screen. But for our teacher businesses, when we're selling things like resources, you could have a time lapse of you making a resource and you could put a little voiceover over the top, or you could put writing over the top saying why you love this resource, what you're using it for, what time of year it's for, how it's good for kids. So I know you guys call them cootie catchers in America, but we call them chatterboxes. You know, the little things that you pull in and out? Those little paper things. Yeah.
What did you call it?
We call them chatterboxes.
Chatterboxes. That sounds better than cootie catches.
Yeah, cootie catchers is a little weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. That's probably just another little side point. We were talking earlier about the Australian market, and our market is nowhere near the size of yours in America. However, thinking about different words that people call things around the world can be a really beneficial way to get your resources up in that algorithm. For example, I would never be online. I never knew it was called cootie catchers until I started a TPT store and I researched it and I found out that's what you guys call them. So I would never be typing that into TPT. And there'd be other people around the world, perhaps in the UK, that wouldn't be typing that into TPT. So sometimes it's a really good way of just finding different terminology different teachers use over the world, especially if it's something that can be universal. I find math can be very universal. Even all of your English and grammar and things like that can be really universal too. So that's just like a little side tip. Okay, so B-roll we can use to show our resources, we can use to show ourselves without it being too daunting. If you want some examples of how that works, go over to my Social by Ashleigh Smith page and you'll see there's lots of B-roll with writing and things over the top. Okay, here are some examples for a teacher page. As you can see, this middle one here, I'm working away. I just had my camera set up. You can't really even see my face. So I'm working away. I'm giving some tips and things on as text, and that's a reel done. Okay, let's move on. So we've been speaking about carousels and blog posts and how they all mesh together. Another way you could use that blog post information or your carousels, if you're creating those from scratch, is turning them into infographics. Now, infographics is where they have like a little image and then very short bits of information around it. I'm going to show you an example. Here are some from my social page. So you've got usually some sort of heading to draw people in, and then some short, quick ideas around. And you can see how that really, you could take that from a blog post. These little parts here, they would be your subheadings. This would be your title, and then you've added in an image. These particular ones I just grabbed from Canva, and Canva has got so many different templates you can use. I think probably the worst thing about Canva is the amount of choice that you've got. Again, remember that these are square and Instagram have now changed to that rectangular format. So you need to make sure that they're in that rectangular format. This next one is a little daunting, but I tried it myself and I was like, wow, this is actually a really cool idea. And that is turning any past stories that you've done into a reel. So if you have been brave enough to go out and get your phone and film yourself or film a resource and you're talking about it on stories, you can go into your Instagram and go into your archive and go to every story you have ever posted is archived there. And you can save it and download it. Now, back many, many years ago, and I'm talking maybe 7 years ago, because my second child was probably only just born, I created this story. I was trying to explain how you could use powder pop sticks to create a number line. And I created this long story, and it was a really good story, but it disappeared in 24 hours. So it was probably a little bit of waste of my time. I actually found those powder pop sticks when we were moving house 7 years later. And I thought, oh, I think I could repurpose that story into a reel. And I tried it and it worked. I downloaded it. I added something at the beginning and I added captions to it because Instagram had changed. But I really didn't need to do very much in order to get that content back out there. Okay, this is my favorite, and this is why I've left it to last as my bonus tip, and that is reposting good content again. Now, Joan, you said at the very beginning of this that you might have a break during summer, which go for it if you need a break, but this could be your solution not to have a break during summer and still get your content out there. So when I say reposting your content, I mean get the exact same reel, get the exact same post, the exact same carousel, and repost it again. You can even steal your own captions and use the exact same captions. What I like to do, I do this all the time. What I like to do is I go find the old post, I edit it, so then I'm able to copy the caption. I repost it, I paste the caption in, and then I just make any tweaks that I want to make, because over the years you learn new things, or even over the months you learn new things. You get better at doing particular things. I know now that I like to have a hook at the beginning to make sure teachers want to read on, have a call to action at the end. And I know now we all know that we need to have a call to action at the end. So I try and add in those little bits and pieces if I need to, but especially on a day where it's super busy. I'm a mum of 3. My husband works 6 days a week. Sometimes it is really hard to get content up and onto Instagram. And these are the days that I think, yes, thank goodness for reposting. Now, there's a guy out there called Brock Johnson. I don't know if you guys know him. He is a guru on Instagram. And his rule of thumb is if you haven't posted it within 3 months, you can repost it again. So every 3 months, you can recycle your content around. I personally think as teachers, we're really lucky because we kind of go in a seasonal theme with our years. We're always moving on. So for us, we don't necessarily need to be reposting things every 3 months. We're reposting it yearly because, the different times come around. Test prep comes around, the end of the year comes around, back to school, Christmas time, etc. So save that content and then just start stealing your own content and reposting it. It will not make any difference on how it's perceived because, number one, people need to see things over and over again to remember. It won't make any difference on how many likes you get, how many shares you get. In fact, often you get more. We've been doing this for years. There's reels that I've shared, year after year after year, and they still go just as well. So if you want to repost a reel and you don't want the little Instagram shadow on there, go to a website called snapinsta.app. It kind of looks a bit like spammy. It doesn't look great. You just need to have the URL of your reel, copy it in there, and then you can download the reel. Would you like me to show you how to do that in real time? Yes, amazing. Let's do it. I'm on this reel here. I come up to the top and I copy the URL, and then I'm going to go to snapinsta.app. Now I'm just going to go, this is the one you want. that's got the same sort of Instagram colors there. We're going to paste our URL in and press this green button, download. Can you see how it looks a bit spammy? It doesn't look great, but I assure you, I've been using it for a long time and it's fine. The other thing is there's a million pop-ups that come. So you've got to close the pop-ups. Then here it is. I'm going to download the video, another pop-up. That's probably the most annoying thing about this whole process. But since I did that, then it's saved there in my downloads. And here it is. This is a really good way too to start keeping a bank of all your reels together. So then you can start reposting them. So we have got a Google Drive that's got Instagram reels in it. And we've just got all of our reels there so that when I have those busy days with the kids or I don't know what to post or whatever, I've got a whole bank there, but also we can repurpose our content as well. These are examples of things that I've reposted again and again and again, and they've still gone really, really well. So sometimes they're resources, sometimes they're ideas, sometimes they're freebies. I like to repost our freebies all the time. I try and make sure that there's at least one freebie up on our grid every single week. And that's another tip. If you're thinking, I don't know what to post on Instagram, because I think that can be one of the most overwhelming things to begin with, post something that's free. That's a really great place to start. Once a week, get something that's free and pop it up on your Instagram. Okay, so recapping, we've got 6 different ideas to work smarter and not harder. Transferring our long form content, so our blogs or our podcasts, into carousels. Then turning those carousels into stories. I like to have a bank of them on my phone so I can just quickly throw them up without too much thought. Repurpose any long captions or anything that you have written at all and change it up to a different form. Film yourself doing B-roll and reuse that as a reel. Another thing I didn't say when we were talking about that is sometimes I pop that up as a story if I've got nothing to say. So actually this B-roll that I'm doing now, I'm going to stop it now because I've been filming this whole time. I might put that up on my Instagram stories over on Social by Ashleigh Smith and say that I did this masterclass today. I know last week I was cleaning up my studio where I do all my creation, and I popped my phone up and I popped it on time lapse, and I just sort of walked around and I was cleaning up. I had to do it anyway. And then I popped that up on the story saying, you know, this is what I was doing this afternoon. So it's another way of you're doing it anyway. Why not film it and pop it up on your stories? Using creating infographics, using other content. So using your carousels, using your blogs to create those infographics. Don't forget, also you can change them into stories to make it a super easy story idea. And finally, our last one is turning stories into a reel, if you've got any old archive stories. And then the one that I think is the most important, it's the bonus tip, repost your good content. Anything that is done well, put it on a list and repost it. That is it, my friends. I feel like I've gone a million miles an hour. If you actually, I was going to say to you, Chris, I've got this free guide that I would love to give everyone about different ways that you can reuse your reels as well. It's the same idea, but it's just specifically about reels. So if you need any more help on Instagram, or you want any more ideas on what to do for your teacher account on Instagram, come over and follow me at Social by Ashleigh Smith. Ashleigh is Leigh. And as you can see there, I share some easy Instagram reel ideas. I share how to get your reels and your content in front of your ideal audience, because that is the key. And I help you just with some of those changes and those little things that, you know, we find as hiccups. So that is there, Social by Ashleigh Smith. Thanks so much.